What's going on, everyone? It's Nina Infinity. Welcome to my channel on this Sunday night. This is the place where we review stuff we don't like, we love, we hate, we somewhat like, I don't know, whatever. And anyways, we review all things around here. Good, bad, ugly, mostly good though, because I like good things. And tonight we're going to be reviewing the first season, numero uno, number one only of Yellowstone, starring Kevin Costner. It's been a while. It's been out. So if you haven't seen it by now, I don't know what to tell you. But this is going to be a spoiler review. So if you haven't seen it, maybe go watch it and then come back. If not, you're in for a treat because we're going to spoil all of it. Tonight, I have with me some lovely ladies. And hopefully later we'll be joined by another Canadian. But we have Ms. Teresa Martin. How are you doing tonight?
Hey, doing great. Great to be here. I can't wait to talk about this.
Yay! I'm so glad that you're here. Jane Theory's in the house. What's going on, Jane?
Hello. I'm happy to be here.
Yay. Yeah, so like Jane and I were discussing AI in the back, and well, Teresa was there too, but I was accusing Jane of basically taking over the world, and I'm not down with all of that stuff because I just put out a video about how her people are taking over. And by that, her people, I mean the AI. And I hope you guys go check out that video as well. That's a new one on my channel. I just uploaded, but not right now. After this whole thing. But we have to, Jane, like, even though we're talking about AI, we have to now I have to come back to like Western worlds and talk about like mentality change. So I'm changing my mentality over here from AI and craziness into the world of Yellowstone, which I was just introduced to. And I have thoughts about this show because I watched Tulsa King by Taylor Sheridan because he's the same creator as Yellowstone. And I loved Tulsa King. I thought Tulsa King was freaking amazing. And I was told that Yellowstone's really, really good too. And you guys know me, Jane. You know me. I need an ending, girl. I was like, an ending. So I was kind of waiting until Yellowstone gets an ending, but apparently that's not going to be the case for at least a while. But since I liked Tulsa King so much, I was like, okay, we'll start watching this. There's been several seasons out now. Let's see what happens.
But what I like about this show is that it doesn't really, I don't feel like it has to have an ending because it's a multi-generational drama, especially because I started from the beginning. I started with the prequels.
Oh, okay.
So I've been watching it through the generations, and it's sort of like the same fight, but you'll constantly have an enemy because their family has acquired all of this property, and now they have to defend it against corporations and rivals and neighbors and government and all these things. And that's going to be a continuous fight. And many families, I think, can relate to that in real world.
Yeah. And it was interesting for me because I knew it was going to be like a Western-ish style thing because that's what I had been told. It's a Western starring Kevin Costner. And so when I watched it, like, I actually didn't think it was going to be a modern Western. I was kind of expecting, old-timey Western. And then I was like, wait a minute, what the hell? This is like in the modern era. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to feel this show because it just felt really weird. I was like, oh no, modern. Yikes.
Yeah.
There's cars.
I don't think they described it quite as well as they should have. But 1883 is the true Western.
Right. And that's why now I'm kind of like really looking forward to that one because I think that's the one that I was kind of like, oh, that's what I imagine this is going to be like. And but I haven't gotten there yet. And I'm planning on watching it through, like, watch Yellowstone and then watch the prequels. But it's been interesting though because so that was my initial shock. Like I went in there and I was like, oh no, like modern. But then, I started the show and it started out really well. And then as things progressed, I was kind of like, why? Like, why are you making these choices? Why this? Why that? Why? Like, there's just so many whys that I felt like, and I was told this by script doctor a few times that his character development was kind of different. He didn't do it well, especially for the women. And I had so many questions as it was happening, way more than Tulsa King. Like that's one of the things I realized was that like I didn't feel like I had too many things to say about Tulsa King because it was so good and the pace was so well. But in this one, I was like, oh God, like what the this isn't great. Like
Someone said it's like Dallas. Did you ever see that?
no, I didn't.
Yeah, that's interesting because that's exactly the feel that I got because I did watch Dallas, all of it, but I was probably too young when I first started. And the main character with Kevin Costner really reminded me of Jock Ewing, the original owner of the ranch, and it was like,
was that the JR character?
no, that was JR's dad, Jock Ewing.
Okay.
Yes,
Hmm.
he was exactly like that with his two boys, with Bobby and JR, and really tough, and just like the way he would just kick
Rugged.
the crap out of his own sons and be all like man up and all that. But he wasn't as vicious as this guy. But instead of oil, it's cattle here.
Oh.
So,
by the way, I just had a steak before we started the stream. I just
Yay.
wanted to let you guys know that because, well,
I had bison spaghetti yesterday.
What? How was that?
Delicious.
Ooh, that sounds really good. Man, I've never had bison before. Like that's
So
weird.
good.
I'm not sure I have.
I will say this. The other thing that I was kind of like, what the F, was at the very start of the show. Cause I'm like, I can't even show the image because it's a violent scene. But at the very start of the show, like the first scene is a car crash. And there's a horse that's been impaled. And it is like it was a very, very it was just I can't watch. I usually when I watch shows that have, I can't say animal abuse because this wasn't animal abuse. He was putting it out of its misery because it was like impaled in a car and like he shot it and like and they showed it.
Yeah. I was not okay, to be honest, because I cannot stand, even though it was a euthanasia, if you will, it was the right thing to do the horse. This is the only death that me up. I don't know if we're more than 1 minute in, but I was so messed up after this. I was like, screw this show, the daggone horse.
Yeah, because it takes me like when I see stuff like that, like it really usually takes me out of the situation. Now, in this instance, it was like I said, it was like a mercy kill. So I was like, okay, this is setting up something because it's trying to say that this guy he has the tenacity that like, that masculine, like to make a hard choice like that. I don't know if I agree with the way it was shot because it like, why do you need to show the horse be so graphically killed? I don't know. Cause I think those are the things I don't like about it in that sense, because there's also like violent scenes later on in the series where it's like over the top violent. Like for example, when that other guy, I forget which episode it was. When the woman gets impaled.
Yeah.
And like he has to like cut her out and like do all this stuff, and it's like you're showing all of that, and it's in a way I understand why they have to show it because they're trying to say, hey, the farm life is hard, like and this beeping that the farm life and like that the country life is really difficult, and these are the things that you come to when you are like on the farm. This is that life, and I understand that because I've been on a farm, I've lived on a farm. I know those kind of things are very realistic and truthful, but at the same time I'm like, in a movie, like, do you really need to show it and be so graphic? How did you ladies feel about the graphicness of it all?
I felt like that really set us up for it. I think it showed us this is the kind of show you're going to get. I'm not going to hold back in terms of the violence and the brutality of their life. And I also think I agree with you. It set up this character as someone who will make those tough decisions, but also has the power to get away with it. Because I don't think you can actually legally just do this? He did
No.
it anyway.
No, I
And
don't
it
think.
just sort of it showed that he has some sort of power and authority, and he's that kind of man, you know.
Yeah, definitely. What about you,
Yeah.
Teresa?
And to be sure about the graphicness, it has to be. It has to be in a Western. It reminded me in many ways of Lonesome Dove. That Westerns, it never feels gratuitous when they do that because it is brutal. And if you
Mhm.
try to sanitize it, it just doesn't work. Then you get Bonanza. You get that stuff you used to watch as a kid from the 60s. That was sanitized. This is the way it is. And because he is such a horrible human being. He,
Really? I didn't
He
get that.
really is.
oh,
I
he
do
is
not like him.
I don't agree.
vicious. Oh,
Jane.
Fight me. No, we'll fight later. We'll get into that. But yeah,
I like John Dutton.
Wow. Okay. Let's talk about that because I'm with Teresa on this. I think he's a terrible human being. But Jane, why do you say that you don't think that?
I don't think that because I think he's being who he needs to be and doing what he needs to do to protect something that's so much more valuable than it seems like any of his children understand. He doesn't want to be the one who loses something that's been preserved in his family for 100 years, you know, and for his kids to have no regard for it. I think he's trying to toughen them up. I think he's trying to bring them around and make them understand what's at stake. And he sees it slipping away. And so I think that's where a lot of it comes from. But his toughness and his hardness, there's also beyond that, beneath it, there's also a very deep love for his children. And he will do anything to protect them. And there's nothing that's going to threaten them if he's still around.
Interesting. Yeah, see, I see it a little bit differently because I get that that's what they were trying to portray, but I think that like one of the things that, for example, really pissed me off about the character development of like what he's doing is the fact that he went, for example, this series is setting up this point of like how John Dutton, all he cares about is family. Like he cares about his family and his farm. Like that's what he cares about. And he wants his sons or whoever, like his children to be the ones that are going to be taking over the farm once he dies. And the series is setting up the fact that he thinks he's dying of cancer. So to that end, all his decisions are going through this fearful kind of lens of I'm going to die soon. So I got to do some moves and I got to make sure that my kids are the ones that are going to be left with this farm because they're dealing with some people that want to take it over and other things like that. And he wants to prep them. I get that. Now, hold on. We have another guest. It's Script Doctor. Hi.
Okay.
Good afternoon and good evening, everybody. Sorry
Hi.
for my tardiness, but I'm glad to be here.
I'm so glad you're here. We were just discussing the fact that Teresa and I think that John Dutton is an asshole, and Jane thinks that he's justified in his decisions and the things that he's done. And I'm coming at it from the angle of I understand where Jane's coming from, but I also think that they didn't set it up quite right in a sense that like that's what they wanted to portray, but then what they ended up portraying was that this dude is a complete sociopath / psychopath and doesn't even like realize that the ends doesn't justify the means in a way that the setup is I love my kids. I'm going to tell them what to do so that they can take over the farm. But then he goes 0 to 100 with regards to Jamie because Jamie like lost his phone he didn't lose it, but it was taken away from him by that woman that was like doing his campaign or whatever. So he tells Jamie, run for politics. He's the one that told him to do it. He goes to do it. He wants to do it because that's his like next step. That's his passion. He wants to do all this stuff. Then all of a sudden things change. So John Dutton is like, oh, now you can't do it. And then Jamie's like, And he's like, well, like, I needed you. Where were you? You didn't have your phone. And he's like, well, I just didn't have my phone because I'm in a campaign trail, blah, blah, blah. And the dude starts punching him out and like starts beating the shit out of him. And he's like, you're disowned. Like, he basically disowns him from the farm, which is literally the opposite of all the things that he said he was trying to do the entire fucking time. So that's why I'm like, I don't get this character. Like, what is he doing?
John Dutton's critical flaws. He's so obsessed with protecting his ranch, he has neglected everything that he's protecting it for, which is his family.
Yes. Yes.
He's neglected his children. He's and part of that comes from the fact that he doesn't have the wife that held him grounded with regards to balance between the ranch and his children. She died shockingly rather early, but no, he's a man who whatever happened with his father and how he was raised on the ranch, he is carrying on a certain level of abuse and dedication that is very questionable.
Yeah.
And
like
he's on a
branding
journey
people.
He's on a journey where he's trying to figure that out, but every opportunity the universe gives him to point him into the right direction, he denies it. Because he believes that in embracing that, he will then lose the very land he is trying to protect, because everybody wants his ranch for their own purposes. Tom Rainwater wants it because he believes it belongs to his people.
Which, I mean, to be fair,
well, we learn that at the end of the 1883 is that the natives gave it to the ancestor Dutton for a little over 100 years.
Hey, spoiler alert, script author. God damn.
Well, here's the irony, right? Tate, John Dutton's grandson, is part native and a Dutton from the same tribe. So it's already going back to them in a generation or two. Tate is going to inherit the ranch, and it's going to be part of the natives' land once again. The only difference is that the idea, at least the idea that John Dutton is hoping, is that Tate's going to run it just like John's doing it and keep it protected and whatnot. And Tate is too young of a character for us to understand or even learn if he is going to embrace it, take it, and do what it is. But either way, Rainwater has no idea that the very cause he's fighting against, the very person he's fighting against, is already going to be part of his tribe or this people. And if he does know it, it also shows that it's not really about his people. It's about him doing it for himself.
Oh, I definitely think
and
about
we are
it's about
too early
him.
into the series, even with the seasons that have come out right now. We're too early into the series to figure out if that is actually going to be the case or not.
Yeah.
Okay, and I guess without oh, sorry, Teresa, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, without a doubt, he has a chip on his shoulder because he was raised a Mexican, because he wasn't even told, so he didn't even get to become part of his people till he was 18. So again, he has that I'm protesting too much.
Now, without like too much spoilers, I also had another question because I was like really kind of confused because they kept saying that the oldest brother died. And I was like,
yes,
who the fuck is the older brother? Like, because they don't really talk about him or show what happened to him or whatever. And I'm like, do we figure this out like in later seasons? Because it just doesn't make any sense that they keep talking about this dead brother and then we don't actually know what the hell happened, because we found out what happened to the mom. So I was kind of expecting something like that.
You learn about it in the first episode. At the end of the first episode, this man here, Casey, shoots his brother-in-law because his brother-in-law had killed his brother.
Oh, that's the one?
Yes.
The brother-in-law killed his... Oh, okay. That's right. I forgot about that.
Well, yeah, it's
That's right.
This was so this is a thing that I've been noticing with Taylor Sheridan pilots, is that he introduces so many characters and then
I got lost.
Does something different where you kind of get lost with the characters.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's what happened to me. I got lost.
Lee is a big casualty of that, because Lee is literally the character that the ranch should be going to, because he has demonstrated a lot of understanding and responsibility and knowledge of how this ranch works.
Right.
And then when he dies, because Casey screws up, because that's what Casey does. Casey's a knee-jerk, kill first, to heck with the consequences later.
Is it a screw up though? I don't know if it's a screw up, because I mean he basically, what he did was what he did to what John Dutton did to the horse. It was a reflection of the same thing, right?
Well, the Duttons are trying to sort of prevent the tribes from, grazing on his land or something at the end of that, where the conflict happens. Casey it gets involved and causes a distraction, which actually instigates the fire, the exchange of fire between the two.
Right.
Because they're on a standoff. So if Casey wasn't there, it might have just lasted as a standoff until morning, and then maybe something else would have happened. That's what the direction it was. But because Casey showed up, both parties started opening fire, and he lost a brother, and he had to kill his brother-in-law, and his wife that's his wife's brother, and he has no clue, or she has no clue of what he did.
No, but and he refuses to tell her for the I don't know. Does he tell her in the end? I forget. I don't think he does.
I can't remember. I can't remember if he tells her in the first season.
No, he told her.
Oh yeah, he told her later on in the
right when they were
the
leaving
8th
each
episode
other
or something. Yeah,
when she
that's
left
right.
them.
That's right. Yeah, I totally forgot about this scene, because I was like, wait, what happened to the older brother? Why do they keep talking about him? And it's like, who the fuck is he? Why did he die? And I just remember that I thought this guy was another one of those farm hands, like because he has so many, so it kept it took me a minute to get used to all the characters, unlike Tulsa King, because in Tulsa King he doesn't introduce as much, so you're just kind of like, okay, I know Sly, I know the black driver kid, I know the pot dealer, done, the main antagonist.
In Tulsa King, and I actually think Sylvester Stallone helped him out with the writing of this, is that each other character has their own individual introduction scene, so that you remember who they are. And this is what writers are supposed to do. Every time you introduce a new character, especially a main one, their introduction has to be memorable, and it has to be focused solely on them. And in all the other stuff that Taylor Sheridan writes that doesn't have Sly, you get basically like a shotgun blast of characters right after another in the same scene. And you don't quite understand what's their status level in relationship to the show and in relationship to the other main characters. I mean, it works for John Dutton because it's Kevin Costner all alone. He's got to do a mercy killing on a horse that's missing a leg and everything else that's happened in that situation.
I hated that scene.
But then Casey gets that as well, but you get muted over a little bit muted over Lee, a little bit muted over the brother that everybody hates.
Jamie,
thank you. Beth gets her own scene, but Beth is a joke.
Oh God, Beth, I cannot stand that character. I'm just like, what the hell is going on with her the whole time?
Well, she's very knowledgeable in business.
Mm-hmm.
But all of her power comes from her boss, because she doesn't really have any. And I like the actress, but every time they refer to her as a woman in her mid-30s, I have to laugh out loud, because she is clearly over the age of 42, 43, trying to look younger.
Yeah, she keeps saying she's 35, and I'm like, man, I feel good looking at her.
I balked laughing at that, because I'm like, not with those bangs, not with those eyes. Are you?
Well, maybe it's all 30. The drink and the cigarettes.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, that's also
hard
true.
Living.
Just say no, kids.
But she is 45.
Yeah, no, she she's not an actress that knows how to hide her age. I'll put it to you that way.
Yeah.
Not in her face, at least. She has a heck of a body, but yeah.
Yeah, great body.
I loved it when her brother punched her in the face. That was beautiful.
Dude, I could like that was one of the things that shocked me about the series because like you don't see that every day now, like with like dudes like punching out a woman like that. It was crazy.
Yeah, and I'm usually not in favor of that, but
I think what they were trying to show is that they're all like they have to be, and they all are incredibly tough. They can give a punch or take one.
Yeah, I like the line though, because she was like, she kept being like, "Be a man, Jamie, be a man," and then he like punched her in the face, and then she's like, "A real man would have walked away," and I was like, "Oh damn, that's a burn!" Like she burned him hard. Although I think that she deserved that punch personally.
She burned him a lot.
I love the one where she said, "Yes, I know you're gay, and no, Daddy won't still love you once you tell him."
I know, that was so great. You know what's so funny is I thought he was gay the whole time, and then it was like, okay, he's attracted to that other woman, and I was like, wait, I thought he was gay, but he was.
Well, and then she said something about her getting ready to use the strap on.
Well, I mean, it's the haircut and the fact that he played he was in the Kevin Spacey film way back at the end of the 90s. He played the kid who's not normal. Who his dad thought his son was gay in that movie.
American Beauty.
American Beauty, yeah.
Oh.
So they're kind of laying in on that. Plus, he has a terrible haircut in this entire series.
I feel like everybody has a terrible haircut.
He looks like he's got a massive comb over because the way where he parts the hair and how much of it goes to one side.
But that, like, I definitely didn't like how he treated Jamie. Like, I was like, you told him to run for politics. You told him do this, do that. You told him all this stuff. And then, he does what you say. And then all of a sudden he goes from 0 to 100. And all of a sudden it's like, no, you're out of the family. You're out of the farm. You're out of this. You're out of that. If you choose to go and, follow your career, then basically you can fuck right off. But then in the end of the series, it's almost like maybe he regrets it a little bit, but I don't think he did. Like he was just like, no, like
one of the things, I don't know if it was this season, but there's a conversation that takes place with all of the brothers, and they're talking about how their dad has basically told all of them to leave at some point or another, in case he was the only one who actually did it.
Yeah, it wasn't this season.
So it seems like he may go off on them from time to time. But they have to be man enough to stand up to him. And I think that's also what he's trying to get out of them. Mm-hmm. But Jamie is like the least likely one to push back because he so desperately wants his acceptance instead of just sort of manning up.
Interesting point. Because he does that a lot. You're right. Like, I mean, he just really, really, he really wants his dad's acceptance. And I think like, in a way, John Dutton does play favorites too. Like at first I thought he really, really liked the daughter, but then, and I thought that he really liked Jamie because, Jamie's the lawyer and basically gets shit done for him that, he's constantly like doing all these illegal things. And he's like, well, I need to get this shit done. And Jamie does it because he's a pretty good lawyer. But then he becomes obsessed with his other son, Casey, that like, left and then fucked everything up. And then he's like, no, like now that Jamie's gone, you're going to be taken over and all this stuff like that. I'm just like, what are you talking about, dude?
You can kind of get a sense in the first few episodes that John knows that Jamie cannot run the ranch, but he can protect it with his legal knowledge. So he's caught between a rock and a hard spot, and he knows his daughter will not run the ranch. He knows his daughter will sell it the instant he's dead, or her portion of it, because that's the type of woman she is. So he needs to make sure it goes to someone that can actually do the job, and the only one left is Casey. And when Jamie starts getting the hints that this is going to be the case, he realizes that his inheritance is going to be taken away from him. And when John I think also realizes that he's doing that, and as a result he knows he can't trust Jamie with anything. And so that's why Jamie keeps bouncing around, because here's the other part too. Jamie has never earned John's respect because John has told him what to do and he just does it like a puppet. And he can't respect him for that. He's like, you are just a tool that does what I need you to do when I need you to do it. And that's all you're ever going to be. And that's essentially what Jamie is. And when Jamie starts to realize that, that's when he no longer cares.
And I think that he also doesn't respect him as much as Casey and, like even the daughter, because he doesn't even ride horses really. Like he's not a wrangler. He knows
how to do it, but he just doesn't. And the only one of his family that actually does love him and loves him more than Jamie loves anyone else is Casey.
Yeah.
Like, Casey.
And I think that's, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Jane. No, please.
No, I was going to say, I think that's the problem, is that I think Jamie lost sight of what's most important. Yes, being a lawyer is helpful and the family needs you to be one, but I think he should view it as his practice being a tool, but him being a rancher. And instead he sees it as he's the lawyer and sort of put the ranching and the family to the side himself. And I think his father sees that, and that's a problem. Like if he were just like his dad, but just using his legal knowledge to keep the family protected, that would be one thing. But he's all in on being a lawyer, and that takes him away from what his dad envisioned for all of his kids.
But this is also what I think makes him a bad father, because a good father would be like, okay, fine, let's let him go off and be the lawyer, and I'll focus on the boys that want to be ranchers. The fact that he's trying to turn him into something he's not.
Well, yeah, the thing is, John Dutton sent him away to be a lawyer. That's it. Like
exactly, and told him to be a politician. Sorry,
Doctor, go ahead. Jamie didn't even apply to Harvard Law School. John Dutton applied on his behalf and pulled some strings to get him in there and sent him away. For years to become a lawyer, and Jamie had no say in that.
Yeah, and then John gets pissed off at him for doing exactly what he told him to.
Exactly.
Yep.
And then he goes from 0 to 100 and then beats the shit out of his full-grown son. I was like, what did I just watch? And it was weird because I thought in that episode that it's going to be like, oh, okay, he beats the shit out of him. Jamie's going to go for like, an episode or whatever. And then he's going to come back and they're going to be like, shaking hands. Everything's fine, blah, 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 blah. But then it didn't happen like that. It was like, now it's like, oh, Jamie's going to become the antagonist of the show and he's going to betray his father and the land and his, siblings. And he's going to become like, is he going to go work with the native guy now? Like, it's such a weird situation that like, I just didn't like how Taylor Sheridan set that up. It kind of like went too weird and pace-wise.
It's very War of the Roses like, where instead of the children are vying for the crown and ready to kill each other over it, it's the land. And the siblings are all like, only really one sibling cares and feels responsible for it, and everybody else is just, they want it for what the power or the money that they can get from it.
Well, I don't know if I agree with that, Script Doctor, because I think I think you mean Casey when you say that, right?
Casey just cares about the ranch, but he cares about his family more.
But Casey, his own family, like his son and the wife.
Yes, his wife and his son. Yep.
Yeah, and he wants, like, his goal is to pass down like the land to his son. But I think that the daughter also cares about the land and also but only the reason I say that is because I think that the daughter cares more about the father and wants this, like, she wanted that daddy, that daddy's little girl. And then what happened with her mom caused the father to basically hate her, or that's what she thinks, that he hates me now because I basically killed my mom. And like, so she does everything to please the father. And like in that one scene where she sees him with, I think it was the grandson, and she freaks out and starts like screaming in her room, and she's just like going crazy because I think she was like feeling jealousy that he was so kind to the grandson, but she never got that kind of parenting from him.
Well, so that is answered in many seasons later, and this is actually one of the mistakes that Taylor Sheridan did in writing her character. But she has that guilt about her mother, and she thinks that is reflected on her relationship with her father. But she will sell the ranch because if she sells it, she can then put back all the memories of what happened there in her past, and that's where she is at that point. Like, she will do anything she can while her father's alive to meet his wishes, to show that she is his daughter, does love him, what have you. But the instant he's dead, she has constantly said, I'm selling my portion of the ranch and I don't care. And she tells her father that many times, and he's fine with it. Even though it's against his wishes, it's like, well, he'll be dead, but so long as he's alive, she's still going to be doing everything she can to help him protect this ranch.
But that's so sad though, because
it is.
Like, how can you lose so much respect for not just your dad, but your whole lineage? Like, the people who sacrificed so much for you to have this land, to just be willing to walk away from it. It just is very selfish. And it reminds me so much of like what has happened in the real world history, especially in the South. We had so many people had so much land, and they just sold it to go live in the city or for a government job or whatever, and gave up land that their family had fought and died for over generations. And it's just
all the subdivisions and everything, like they just kept subdividing and selling.
Better.
Well, that comes as a result of how strong is the family as a core in the first place. And if it's not strong enough, then you would have no reservations about selling your portion to it, because it means that's how much it means to you. It basically,
you said reservations.
Oh no. Yeah, well, they said that was the whole thing at the end with the symbolism, the empty table, the empty dining room table. It wasn't a home, it wasn't a family, and he said this. I remember when it used to be filled, and she was like, "It never was. That's just your fantasy.
Was your dream."
Yeah, your dream. Yeah.
Well, that was also a really interesting scene for me, because you guys remember that other show that we watched, Open Range? It had like that table scene too. Remember when she was like, that table was everything? I don't know if you guys remember that, but it was like, the table was everything, and like she like smashed the table in the end. I was like, what is this? Like, what's up with these tables in these Westerns? But okay. I also want to bring up this character and this fact I like this kid. I think his name is, what was it? It's
Jimmy?
not Jamie. Jimmy. Yeah.
Jimmy. Yeah.
I'm like, Jamie is yeah. Jamie's the brother. Jimmy.
Yeah.
Which is really funny. He's a funny side character. I really like him because, I mean, this kid just goes through fucking so much. And I love the episode where they give him the hat, and he's like, "Fuck you guys! Like, I hate all of you." And then they're like, "Here's your hat," and he's just like, "Oh my god."
Yeah, that's an expensive hat.
Yeah, dude, I couldn't believe what they said, because they were like, we all pitched in $100 or something. I was like, how expensive are these hats? Holy shit!
Oh yeah, they're expensive. Well, he said a week's wages. They all donated.
Yeah, week's wages. Yeah,
those hats can be expensive, because they could be real leather and all. Girl, you need to come visit me. I'll show you some expensive hats.
Girl, wow, I do need to come visit you. But like, my goodness. So now this guy, so we find out in like the very early on, like, because he gets branded with that Yellowstone brand thing. And I was like, what the? Because we start the show by him killing a horse. And then we find out how he's running his ranch, which is like, he gets a bunch of like ex-cons, and then he brings them to the land, and then he brands them as a sign of, loyalty or something like that, which made no fucking sense to me. I was like, why would anyone just because they got branded be like, yeah, okay, like I'll just keep listening to you. Like, no, I'll just walk away, be like, go fuck yourself. I
will say this, a lot of fraternities do this too. Like, it's not just the loyalty, but it's also building a brotherhood. It's like a second family. And everybody who has that brand, they can recognize one another because of it and know that they have their back no matter what.
I mean, yes, but also it's really fucking psychotic. Because
it absolutely is.
It's traditional.
Tradition.
Well, it's taking it to an extra level. But the other part too is the reason he's there, because Rip tells his kids, like, your grandfather reached out because your parents are gone and you're a screw up, and you're basically going to be going in and out of jail for the rest of your life. And if you don't want that, and if you want to actually do something in your life, you can be branded and work for the Dutton Ranch, or you can't and you're done. And no one's ever going to help you, and your grandfather's not going to help you. He's going to be incredibly disappointed. And the kid's like, okay, fine. I'll do that because he doesn't want to go back to jail and he doesn't want all that stuff. And that's the start of his journey. And he actually goes on a really great character arc.
Well, and like they show later on to what end they're talking about when they talk about like don't touch one of the branded, because the one that beats him up later, that old dude takes him out and like shoots him in the head.
Takes him to the train station.
Yeah. Takes him to the train station. I was like, what the? And it was just weird though, because I'm like, okay, this show, like, it's a little bit like nonsensical in that sense, because it's like, okay, so like this dude just literally killed this guy, like shotgun to the brain, like not shot, a freaking handgun to the fucking head. The bullet's obviously there for evidence. And then he just kicks him off the thing. There's obviously like prints on everything. This is our time, our age. So if forensics finds that body, they will very easily figure out who murdered him.
But he owns
they do. But the plot of land that they're doing this on actually is a county with no population and no representation, and it's between, I think it's like right on the state line. So someone have to actually go out there and investigate in order to know if there's anything over there. And there are, apparently that canyon is filled with bodies over the last like 100 years.
The other thing too is if they connect anything, we see that. We see over the course of the show, things being connected to the family and the family being able to have those quietly go away, because there's loyalty even amongst the political leaders and the police and all of these people. They admire the Duttons and look up to them and see them as like lords over this region. So they can get away with it.
I'm gonna address something real quick here. BK Messiah says, you can tell Nina's a fake conservative because she just watched Yellowstone season 1 now. I'm guessing her audience kept telling her you need to watch Yellowstone. Well, actually, the reason I didn't watch Yellowstone till now is because I like shows to have endings, and this one didn't. So I was waiting for it to end, but apparently we're never gonna get an ending anyways. So, but as Jane was saying earlier, you don't really necessarily need an ending. And the only other reason that I watched it now is because I watched Tulsa King and it was better than I ever imagined. So I was like, oh, hell yeah, I'm going to watch this Taylor Sheridan guy's stuff now. I'm not really sure what conservativeness has to do with watching Yellowstone at all, but that's an interesting comment that I want.
I don't either, because it has a huge fan base. Like this show has been quietly a success for a while, and people, like some people just had no idea, and yet they have a huge support base, huge following. It's crazy.
Yeah, it was shocking because like I don't remember who told me about it first. I think it was either Tom from Midnight's Edge told me about it first, or George, the Giant Slayer. I don't remember who it was. And then we talked about it in our thread, and it was like, oh, like I was like, maybe we should check it out. And I was like, has it ended? And you guys were like, no. And I was like, well, I mean, maybe we'll wait on this one.
Yeah.
And I wasn't watching it myself because I thought it was, they came out with the new Dallas.
Oh yeah.
I thought it was like that. So I was just like, you know what? No. But then it started seeping in slowly, and everybody was talking. Like I couldn't get away from it. So I was just like, okay. Fine.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. Well, I watched this because this is an actor's television show, because every character is written as if they're the main character in their own story. Even the ones that only have a couple of lines, they're given some depth, and the actors can actually chew the scenery and have fun with it and do something. The only issue it has is that there's sometimes some logic errors with regards to character relationships and emotion, and the plotting's a little to be desired, because they'll introduce stuff just to really delay or put in, like, say, a fake conflict, a red herring to up the drama, but then eventually they're going to reset it back.
Yes, and that's a great point to what happened to this girl here, like his wife. I was like, what the this chick, like, I don't know. I don't remember which episode it was, but it was like, oh, she's gonna die. Like, okay, because she got punched in the face, and then she hits the floor, or whatever. Oh, she's gonna die, and then they're like, oh, we got to do brain hemorrhage surgery on her or whatever.
Yep.
And then because they take her home and she's fine after the punch or whatever, and then they're like, oh, if you have a headache or something, like, come to the hospital. And I was like, why not take her to the hospital like immediately? Like, she just got knocked the fuck out. Like, I don't understand why they
conservatives don't believe in hospitals.
Like, what the fuck?
Well, this was on the res, wasn't it?
It was on the the reservation school, which I think the kid that punched her is a white guy. Because
he looked white. I was so confused. I was like, why is this white kid
going was giving
to
a lecture to him?
Well, he had his hair dyed, but I thought he was native, but he was like a punk native.
A lot of them are mixed, so it doesn't really.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah,
mixed.
My first thought when I saw that was, and that's why we don't break up fights. Teachers don't break up fights because we get, especially women. They're always on Twitter. Why don't they break it up? This is why you end up half dead or with a brain full of mush, because these kids are big. And I was actually kind of hoping she was going to die, because I'm just kind of done with her.
I like her. I like her, and I like what they've done in terms of trying to tell the native story through her.
Mm-hmm. I liked her too. I don't know if I'm going to keep liking her in the second season, but so far I like her. I think she's better written than the sister.
Can I address one thing?
Mm-hmm.
BK Messiah said not many mixed people back in those days.
Those days.
It takes place today.
Yeah, it
takes place today, but also
it's modern times.
Mixing has been happening since the Europeans got here.
Yeah.
Yep. So, like, whenever that was, I don't even know what year. 16, whatever.
Yeah, this one of the reasons I was like, I don't get this show. I can't believe it's in modern times. And then it's like, oh, yeah. So these days is happening.
Literally all our days. This has been happening.
Yeah, this was hold on, I'm trying to get the scene. Teresa, you know what's so crazy is I really thought of you when she got punched in the face.
Oh, yay! Thank you.
I was like, oh my God, this is what Teresa's talking about when they're like, don't get involved. Like, teachers are not supposed to get involved.
Yeah, because we'll get killed. I mean, especially when you're dealing with it. Remember, a lot of teachers are just like that lady. We're small. We're women. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think women should get involved in breaking up fights, but a male teacher can protect a girl.
Yeah, pick those two guys up like rag dolls, toss them around a little bit, and tell them to grow up.
If there are male teachers around, and these things happen so fast, I'm just saying that a lot of the times, you can't physically defend yourself.
I'm more of the popcorn eating type of in that situation. You see two students fighting, it's like, okay, punish the one that's left standing.
In a fantasy world, that's the way it works.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
Because I mean, school fights do happen. Like, you kind of have to let the kids work it out themselves. But if I in any situation, if a girl's getting seriously hurt, I think a man should step in.
Definitely. But like in that scene though, so like she's okay. They're like, oh yeah, she's fine. Like, everything's cool, whatever. And then in the end of the series, or like in the end of the episode, she was like walking down the stairs, and then she like falls down. And then they're like, oh my God, she's gonna die. Let's do another whole fucking episode about how she might die and blah blah blah. And then the whole entire episode, the next one is about how she might die, and then she doesn't die. And I was like,
no, and now she has to learn how to walk again.
Yeah. Yeah. And then now she's just like, he has
this is a red herring drama. It's really just used as like, we need something for this character to do.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna do this. They completely abandoned the dinosaur bones story by just having,
because they stole it.
Yeah, because they just had raiders steal it.
Yeah, they were like, "Oh, we're just gonna steal it."
Why do they just leave it out there? Don't they have like just put the bones indoors? You don't need.
Well, that was actually part of the story, Script Doctor, because the kid told the dad to put it away, and the dad was like, "Nah, it'll be fine." And then they stole it, and then the kid told him, "I told you," and he's like, "I know, I'm sorry." So that was like it was kind of planned out, because it was basically saying that the dad doesn't listen to his kid just like his dad didn't listen to him. So I kind of thought that was like a little bit planned in that sense. At the start of the other episode, this is the start of season 7, episode 7 of season 1. I died laughing at this. And it was really funny because I was binging it. So in the last episode, I was like, just not devastated, but like my heart was beating fast. You know, like you get the emotions of like, oh my God, she's gonna die. What's gonna happen next? And I like, press the episode, and the first freaking 30 seconds is about these Asian people.
Oh, no.
These Asian people at the ranch, and they're like trying to check out a bear that's that's just like standing around like digging the thing, like, and the freaking bear's like
he's got to scare it off. Yeah,
probably not the smartest thing.
No, and they're like all being dumb tourists, and so this guy's like, get the out of here, it's a bear. And
this is my land. Anything off this side of the fence is mine. Everything over there, the mountain range, is mine.
Yeah. And that one Asian dude is like, no one should own that much land. You should share it with everybody. And he just kind of like shoots up into the air, and he's like, get the fuck off my land. And then as they're going into the bus, he goes, this is America. We don't share land around here.
That's what everybody keeps saying. They're like, you shouldn't have all this land. Why?
Yeah, why not? Isn't that the whole point of America?
Well, the thing is, like, he's using it. The cattle have to eat grass.
Right.
And he has to move them from region to region within that land, or else they'll starve and die.
Mm-hmm.
But what's funny is that, and I know this because I grew up in a town surrounded by farms, is that John Dutton doesn't know how to sell his cattle for the most value. At all. Like, no wonder, because again, I've rarely in my life, and I've gone to a lot of farms all over Canada and the United States, I've rarely in my life met a farmer that doesn't have a few $1 million in their bank account for squirrel array. Like, it's smart farmers and have some great finances, and then there's some smart farmers that get taken advantage of by the corporate farms that buy land right next to theirs and then do skeevy things to, prevent them from growing certain seeds or farming certain or raising certain animals.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have to go to court for that stuff, and that is the tragic one. But the lucky ones that don't have those terrible neighbors that I have interacted with, they do very well, and they're very proud of the work that they do and the stuff that they raise.
I also wanted to mention those are very interesting points, Script Doctor. I also want to mention that they have another very graphic scene of surgery, and I was like, why? Like, what the fuck? Like, what? Okay, I get you had to shoot the horse, and that was graphic. But like, what? Like, do I need to watch this like fucking ER show right now? Like, I don't understand why I need to watch like brain hemorrhages. There was just certain things that I swear to God, like it was just so unnecessary for him to do, to shoot that closely to like brain hemorrhaging. Like, why?
That's a good point, because that one was, maybe they were just showing it off because they could.
It didn't
An
add
actor
anything.
thinks that's dramatic, and an audience is like, well, that's gross, and then another type of audience is like, ooh, I want to see more.
Yeah. I guess maybe I'm not alone in that. I thought this conversation between the mom and the girl was interesting. Because we find out later, like what happened to her. And she dies because the daughter, I forget her name. What the hell was her name?
Beth is the daughter.
Beth. Yeah. So
and
Beth,
she's something scared as the horse, and she gets kicked off.
And she basically Beth doesn't get kicked off. She like her horse gets scared, hits the mom's horse goes fucked up, and then falls on the side, and then she gets crushed and her back breaks. Oh God, that was such a weird scene too, because the mom was like, let her, like, she did this, let her go fix it. to the kid, and I was like, oh man, this mom's a psycho too. Like you can tell, like psychos attract psychos.
Oh my god, I was thinking mom is tough and she's toughening up her weak daughter.
Oh, no.
Well, it's
You
like,
were hoping that's the case, but that was the wrong time to do it.
yeah. Well,
Yeah,
you know
man.
how you know how the cliche is, don't blame yourself for your mother's death. That wasn't your fault. And the mother's like, oh hell yes, it's her fault. She killed me.
She didn't sugarcoat it.
And the dad blamed her for it too. It's like, oh yeah, you killed your mom.
Well, it took
you
her
suck.
hours to get back because she got lost, where the other kid was like, I know where to go.
Yeah. Oh my god. But then like so later on though, after that scene, which was really fucking tragic, and it was so crazy because like you see, and I like that he did that. You finally see like why the siblings have this kind of relationship and how like Casey stayed with the dead mom for like hours until they found them.
And he was feral.
Yeah, like I mean that's kind and he was the youngest one, like that's kind of crazy. But then you get to this scene where she's kind of like drunk and remembering like having this conversation with her mom about the first time she got her period, and her mom's telling her like, look, I'm gonna have to do things to you from and it's funny because I remember having this conversation with my mom, and I thought this conversation was really real in that sense, because she was like saying to the daughter, boys are going to look at you differently now, and you can't do the same things that you wanted to do before. You can't play around with the boys like you wanted to do before. And I remember having that conversation, and that was a real conversation. But then the other part that was really hardcore was that she was telling the daughter, now I'm going to have to be meaner to you. Like now I'm going to have to do things that you won't understand now, but you'll understand and appreciate later, because my mom did that to me and I didn't understand then, but I understand now. And I appreciate her for it. And she's remembering this, like, years later through all the trauma. And I thought it was a very interesting scene, because before this, I thought the mother was a psycho. And now I'm like, oh, she kind of warned her about how she's going to be tough on her. So Jane, you're right in that sense, because she's a tough lady. She just wants to like toughen up her daughter to be able to keep up on the ranch, which is understandable.
Well, I think that there's a line though. That's my problem with John, and I think the mother too. It's like, it's one thing about toughening up your kids. It's another
to abuse them.
Yeah, mentally and physically.
Oh yeah,
in the case of John.
they treat their children like horses. Like they break them in the hopes that they'll make them champions. It's like, yeah, but you got it. When you break a horse, it takes time, and you don't push it so hard that the horse is going to, push back even harder. You kind of there's a way you feel what's going on, and when you're looking at the mom in that situation, and she's like, the kid's like, I know exactly where to go. I know where the dad is, and the younger kid is more confident, more determined, and more ready for that type of situation. And the daughter is freaking out and panicking because she understands the gravity of what's happening. And the mother saying, no, the daughter has to do this. Like, nope, you've just sealed your fate, because you're paying more. You're too worried about breaking your daughter to make her what you want her to be at this point, as opposed to realizing that she's not going to ever get to that point if you're not around to do it.
Oh, good point.
So if she sent Casey to do it, worst case scenario is the same result happens, and now Beth watches her mother die in front of her. Best case scenario is that Casey finds dad and whatever in a very short time. They go rescue her, and then she's either bound to a wheelchair or she survives and makes full recovery. Who knows? But at least she's around to make sure that she can toughen up her daughter after that fact. But instead, her daughter got lost. Hours went by because she fell in the morning, and they didn't find her until
nighttime,
late at night. So yeah, the mother was. This is the mentality that is polluting the Duttons at this point, is where they're so determined with the ranch and with kind of thinking the same rules that apply to running a ranch applies to raising children, that they are actually leading to their own self-destruction.
That's interesting. And, one of the reasons they might end up losing the land in the future. I mean, I don't know yet, because I haven't watched past season 1. But I have. That's a lie. I've watched a couple of episodes of season 2. and I've just kind of been like, what the fuck? Like, some of the stuff makes no sense. I'm like, why are you like? But we're not gonna get into that. But I was like, oh my god. But we also are introduced to another character later in that episode, which was kind of a late introduction to a new character, like it, because this was it's episode 7, and I'm like, another one like now, but because the other farmhand died. Well, not farmhand, but what was it? Yeah, he was a farmhand, I guess. Yeah. Well, not died, murdered. When he was murdered, they were like, well, we need a new one. Let's go get another one, but this time let's go get an actual con so that we can brand him and then have have him be loyal or whatever, because we can't have another one of those unruly farmhands. And the guy accepts. And first of all, I gotta say, this dude has the coolest voice ever. B, such a good singer, and C, he's just one of the most coolest characters so far. Like, I like him way more than Jamie, and I like him way more than what was the other guy's name? Rip.
Yeah. Walker's got a conscience.
Yeah,
and he knows right from wrong.
I like Rip though.
I like Rip too, but I don't like him, but I like him. But I don't know if you know what I mean. Like, I like him because he's a complicated character, but I don't like him as a character. I think he's a very fucked up, flawed.
He is, well, it's funny is that his actions don't represent his physical appearance. He is given all the stuff like he's the toughest guy in the room. And I look at him, I'm like, I know actors and I know this type of guy. He pretends more that he's tough than actually is tough, and you can tell it right off the bat. Just the way
and
that
he's
he
really
holds
short
himself.
too. He's kind of short and stocky, and then you're like, wait, I'm supposed to think that this guy can beat the shit out of like everybody? Like, I don't know if I see that.
Yeah.
Hey, that's just me.
I mean, I could definitely see him, taking down Walker, because Walker's a scrawny little guy.
Yeah, he's tall and scrawny.
But like some of the other guys that he fights, I'm like, no way. I'm sorry.
Like the guy that he fought that was taken to the train station, the one that was beating up Buddy. I was like, this guy's not, like, he let off. Like, it was like he was beating the shit out of Jimmy, and then all of a sudden this guy's like, oh, I'm like, don't you be touching a breaded guy, and then he starts like beating the shit out of that guy. But that guy was way bigger than Rip. Like, I was like, he can take him. Like, why isn't he taking him?
And Rip's not like fighting clever, or dirty or anything. He's just fighting straight, and it's like, no, sorry, that guy's, if you're fighting straight, that guy's taking you down just on size and reach and weight alone.
Well, and I don't even know if Rip knows yet that like this dude banged this chick, because
he knows and doesn't care.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he just doesn't care then. Okay, because
he's always said to her that I don't care who you fuck.
Right.
Ooh, it's curse word out of Teresa.
Oh dear. You haven't been around. I'm quoting,
Don't
but
give any of those from you.
Well, I'm hanging my head in shame. Nina knows.
When Teresa drops an F word, it's just like, oh my god, she means it.
Well, not only that, like Beth has messed around with Rip since they met, and that was when they were like 14, 15 years old.
Yeah.
And
they're
in their
like
40s
family
now, even though they're told they're in their 30s.
Yeah, they are like family, more than anything. It's like that's like her high school boyfriend, basically, because it's like they grew up together. They're not. I don't know if they're in love. Like, I can't say that they're in love, but he does love her, I think. I don't think he's just doing it because he wants to have sex with her.
No, he's very loyal to her.
Yeah.
And
well, he's just loyal to the entire family.
Oh yeah, because they gave him, John Dutton gave him a chance when he was in a really bad situation, which I think you find out in late season 2 or early season 3.
No. You actually find out in season 1.
Oh, okay, when they find him in like hiding out, and okay, yeah, that is season 1 then. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was either not the last episode, it might be the second to last episode when he's basically, because it started out really weird. That episode started out really weird. I was like, what the hell is going on? Because they kind of go into like the past again. And it's like this kid just murders the shit out of this dude that's beating the shit out of his mom. And I'm like, what the hell? And then they find him later, and then you realize like you're like, oh, is that you're thinking like who is this, like whose past is this, because John Dutton, the young John Dutton, shows up, and you find out like this kid is Rip, and Rip like basically tells him like, I'm gonna brand you, and the kid's like, yeah, okay, whatever. And he does. This is the scene where he finds him. He's like, there it is.
The kid hasn't gotten branded yet, but it's pretty close.
Well, he tells him that in the end, because he goes, like in the end of the scene, he tells him like, you can come with me and work on my farm, but I only ask like one thing. And he's like, well, what is that? And he's like, just a little bit of pain. And he's like, I'm used to pain.
Yeah, but we don't get the branding right away. That choice comes later. He's given a choice. Because the younger version of the dude with the handlebar mustache, that not John Dutton, but the old guy, they have a story that happens later on. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because we don't know his story yet either. The old dude.
No.
Well, at least in season 1, we don't know his story yet. We just know he works there. So yeah, now the girl, like the wife is in rehab. Okay. This is the other thing that really started to piss me off about this girl, though. I was like, what the fuck is this? I didn't like the storyline. I thought, I don't even know what I thought. It was really pissing me off, because she basically gets hit in the head. She has brain trauma or whatever. And then all of a sudden she's like, I don't want to be with you anymore, Casey. I want to break up. And like, I'm going to take my boy, our boy, because your father is a psychopath and I can't have him be raised around your family. Even though we all know, like, there's no getting away from the Duttons. Like, she knows that. Like, she knows which family she married into.
It's a convoluted reason, because none of her injuries, none of her trauma occurred because of the Duttons or the Dutton Ranch. It occurred because she went to school to teach, and she made the foolish mistake of trying to break up a fight between two boys equal, if not slightly bigger than her.
Right. And it would have even made more sense if she had done it or they had done it in the episode where, because there was an earlier episode where John Dutton's taking care of his grandson, and then the grandson falls into a river and almost dies. Mm-hmm. And if they had done that with the kid instead of the wife, you could tell something like, okay, the wife's like, she's mad about the fact that John Dutton almost got the kid killed. So, okay, like I could see her being mad about that. But all of a sudden it's like, just like when John Dutton went from 0 to like 100 with Jamie, she went from 0 to 100. Like, I love you. I love you. I love you. Just tell me everything. I'm going to be on your corner. I love you. Like, we're going to get through whatever the fuck you do, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden it's like, let's break up. I can't be with your family. I'm taking our boy away from you. And it's just like, okay, so you're going to break up the nuclear family to what? What is your freaking purpose? Like, I was so confused about that. Any thoughts?
Well, my thought was functional, perhaps not necessarily with the character, but Casey had to lose his family somehow. So now we know that because of the father and because of the whole thing, he lost his wife and his son for the Greek tragedy part of it.
But was the reasoning justified to you?
Well, in her thinking, it was that her son was going to end up basically just like Casey, that eventually one of these days he would also be in, if you will, spiritually or branded, that he would also have that same hold on him. Like I said, I thought her reasoning was slightly weak, but it's
definitely the reasoning of someone with a severe head injury.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it was more, but for the purpose of the story, that he had to lose his family by the end so he could be in that scene at the end. Casey, rather.
Yeah, that's why it felt really contrived. Like I was just like, see, there you go. I felt the same thing, Red Strider. I was like, it just felt so contrived with like I think it would have been better to do it with the son. Like if you were gonna do something like this, you should have had the son be injured, and then the mom would have been like, "Fuck this!" Like this.
There's something that happens later on with the son where you would completely understand Monica reacting this way as a result of that.
Yeah, I mean, well, okay, I'm looking forward to seeing
because you haven't
that.
seen it yet, so
No,
yeah,
but I've only seen like only a couple of episodes into season 2, but so far it just made no sense that she was just like, oh, like now I'm gonna break up with you because John Dutton sucks and your family sucks and they're gonna try and take over the boy and blah blah blah. And it's just like, well, you married into this, you already knew this about Casey, you already knew this about John Dutton. You seem to have been fine with it.
She hasn't yet learned how much Casey risked to be with her in the beginning in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And the other part too is that you talk about Casey needing to lose his family. It's been established that he's ex-military and he went off to war or went off to the army or Marines, what have you, almost immediately after he was married, and then several times when his boy was growing up. So he wasn't even really around that much anyways. And now he is. And multiple times he gets tempted to go back to the military because there's a structure and safety there that he just doesn't get on the Dutton Ranch. And the other part too, and this is also Casey's flaw that they're not really exploring yet, is that he is a kill first, ask questions later type of guy, and that keeps getting him into trouble. And that's why Jamie's got like a laundry list of things on his younger brother, because he's had to get bailed out by him for all the murders he's done in quote unquote self-defense. And some of them were, and we are getting hints that many of them weren't.
Yeah, that's a good. That brings to mind a good point, Script Doctor. I was thinking that I think he has done the most killings of the entire show, including a lynching.
Yeah.
Which I think you find out that didn't really happen later, because when I remember in season 2,
when the dude
I'm
was
just
getting
like,
hanged,
which I didn't like, because I thought he was dead, and then
he still got hanged, which
wasn't.
Cool. But
yeah, I was like,
the
point
point is,
fuck?
He's killed. Yeah, I mean, he as far as body count, I think we've seen him kill the most people.
Definitely. This was the other scene that I was talking about earlier with regards to Rip and that lady, because what happened was Rip shot the bear. Bear was protected species, I guess. They get really upset about the bear, so they're like doing research. But then while Rip is trying to figure that out, he finds 2 Asians. I don't know why they had to be Asian, but
because they were the ones trespassing earlier. So
yeah, but I'm saying I didn't know why the tourists had to be Asian. Like they could have been, I guess, any race. But
for a couple of things. First one is for difficulty of communication, because again, Rip is saying like one of you has to come up at the same time, and the other one wouldn't listen. And the second part is for so this is a Hollywood thing, and there is some grounds to it. But in Asian cinema, Hollywood people have found that Asian actors do over dramatized acting so high that it almost becomes laughable.
It kind of was.
We're talking about like begging and crying and stuff for something that they don't even really need to beg or cry for in certain scenes that we see. But it's very entertaining in the Asian culture, and they do it a lot in anime. And I think Taylor Sheridan was making a commentary on that level of melodrama, because what happens when the boyfriend or what have you tries to go up with his girlfriend and she falls and dies. Well, he
commits suicide.
Yeah, he panics. He does an overdramatic thing and then throws himself.
It was messed up. I was like,
it was. Yeah.
What is this show? Like, what is happening right now? And their
fear, like the woman's fear was, I believe that. The man's fear, again, was so overly dramatic. I was laughing at him because I'm like,
I was too. I was like, I
bit
can't
of
believe this happened.
masculinity with regards to how much you care about this woman next to you. A little bit.
Just a little bit.
I mean, I know it's the writing, it's not the actor's fault, but geez, Louise.
Yeah, that was a little extra. I was like, oh my God. But then so this woman comes over to like kind of like investigate the situation or whatever. And then ends up like getting impaled because Rip told her
there's a horse fly on her horse.
Yeah, Rip told her there's a freaking which I didn't know, by the way. Like, I didn't know that horse flies did that to horses. Like, I didn't know that they freak out like that. And then Rip's like, trying to tell her, she doesn't listen. I can't even bring up the scene because I feel like it's like too violent or something.
It's a bit too violent, but she's speared by like a rebar type post.
Yeah.
And they have to like get out of the land, they get her on the helicopter, and she's good to go.
Mm-hmm.
And then
I'm gonna share this scene because it kind of shows it, but like it's far, so you can't really tell.
Yeah, like she is really impaled over there.
Yeah, and then there's this freaking stick,
Ouch.
like a
and
rebar.
he stays with her the entire time, which is cool.
Yeah. And then he kills another horse, and they show it. I was like, I can't with this show. I can't watch any more animals die like this. Like, oh my God, especially horses.
I think there's like 4 or 5 horses that are killed over the course of this series.
Ugh.
Oh my God, it drove me nuts. I was like, I can't do this. I can't watch this. I was literally like this. Like this, I couldn't.
Yeah.
I was like,
I mean, so far there's been no puppies or kittens, but I swear.
I know, right?
That happens.
I'm waiting for that. Like, holy shit! Like, I can't.
They're
like,
heartless.
They are. Jane, what did you think of that scene? Wasn't that crazy? Like when she was impaled.
It was, but I mean, again, it shows sort of the harshness of it. I thought it was interesting that she was still trying to be like difficult about the situation. Like, woman, chill. He's trying to help.
It was funny though because I actually that was probably the scene that made me finally kind of like Rip a little bit, because he was like I liked how he leaned towards her and he was like, listen, you don't know me, but like you need to trust me right now, and if you do, you'll survive. And she did. Like, I was like, if too bad that he wasn't around when the mom got crushed by a horse, because she would have probably be saved too, because I did not think this lady was going to survive. I was like, oh my God, she's dead. And he's going to be like finally taken to prison or something because everybody thinks that he killed her as well as the Asian tourists.
Oh no.
And he's like, you're not going to die on my watch because people are going to think I killed you. I was like, I thought that was funny.
Because they're looking for, there's people out there that are looking for a scapegoat, a quick answer to complicated situations.
Like this guy right here. Some of the baddies in this were really good baddies. Like, I like this dude.
Evil big business mogul from California that wants to turn Montana into a resort for Californians.
Yeah, that's very
total villain.
Yeah, 100%. It's funny because King of the Hill made fun of that too. Like, when like they went to visit Peggy's mom in Montana, and like the Hollywood weirdos were like buying all the plots of land. And what was it? The guy that plays the Fonz was in it. What's his name?
Oh, Henry Winkler.
Yeah, Henry Winkler had bought like the land, and he like invited Hank over to his house. It was funny.
Oh no.
Yeah, good characters. A lot of great actors in this. The performances were great. I understood what you guys meant about the opening theme song. It definitely wasn't the greatest. I was like,
the opening theme song, even some of the teasers that they have for the episode, which is like before the credits, some of them are pointless too.
Oh yeah. Okay. This is when I was kind of like, what the fuck are these Duttons doing? Like, I didn't get the storyline. This storyline really took me out of it. I couldn't get in line with it because they were like, just, oh, like, Jamie, do this, Jamie, do that, Jamie, do this. And then they're like, you know what? We're going to fuck Jamie over. Like, we're going to do our own campaign. We're gonna get this blonde girl to be our whatever.
More like a Beth Dutton than the actual actor playing Beth Dutton.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because they actually commented on that. She was like I forget if it was her or if it was the dad, but one of them was like, she looks really like you. And then Beth was like, yeah, Jamie's gonna hate her. And I was like, that's funny. But they're like, okay, so we're gonna screw you over, Jamie, because like fuck you because you didn't answer your phone. It like all that stuff didn't sit right with me. I was like, I don't want to root for Jamie. Like I don't like but you're making me want to root for Jamie because he's what did he do? He didn't do anything but listen to you.
But they can't trust him.
Yeah.
And every time there is a choice where Jamie can do the right thing or the selfish thing, he does the selfish thing.
But they can't trust Casey either because every time he can do something, it's like, I'm just going to kill somebody. Like,
yes,
like, what
that's
the fuck?
A very different thing.
And then the other sister's a drunk.
Yeah, boozer.
And the one good brother died. Yeah, like there was this other scene where like right after Casey split up with his wife and like all this stuff, he like goes to the gas station or whatever, and then he beats the shit out of this other dude because he was like
trying to rob him.
Yeah, he tried to rob him. So then I was like, oh no, did he just kill this dude too? Like, that's because that's the kind of person he is. It's just like all of a sudden, like, oh, you're dead now.
Well, we also find out that the sheriff has his own motive because the whole issue with the bear and with Rip.
Oh, that's right.
Like, the sheriff is like hiding evidence, and you're very lucky. They were very lucky.
Yes.
The park ranger was like not taking any of that BS.
Oh my god, that all that stuff was so funny, and I actually really liked how that came back around because it all started with that poor native girl being raped in that van, and then Casey, and that was actually one of my favorite episodes because, oh my God, I was just going crazy in that scene where he's trying to go after the murderers and then the son, not murderers, rapists. And then the son is like, he leaves the son in this little hole and there's a fucking giant snake trying to eat the kid. And I was like, oh God, he's going to come back and the kid's going to be dead from a snake bite. And then like he wasn't. He survived.
The kid killed the snake.
Yeah, he was a snake master.
Yeah. And again, that was another opportunity where they could have made the son get extremely injured. And then, and the mom's like, fuck you, Casey, for leaving the kid alone and going and rescuing some, rape victim or whatever. I don't know. I could see why she would be mad because it's her kid getting injured. Trying to find that episode, but I can't find it right now. But yeah, so what happened was though, is they figure out who it was that, because Casey helps the girl get home, and then he figures out what native family it is, and then so it comes back around when the brother of the native girl, I think it was the brother of the native girl, or was it the dad that was like?
It was the dad, I think.
Okay, so then they go out hunting, and they go and get the rest of them, and they find the bodies, and then they bury it, and then they burn it because the natives are so like that too, because they were like, and I like that about the show because natives are like that. I've hung out with a lot of native people when I lived in Canada, and they basically kind of they are very authentic, they have a lot of rituals, they have a lot of certain things that they do, and they do that. And so this guy's like, I'm gonna burn this guy because you're gonna have to kill his soul. And I was like, what the fuck, this guy's hilarious, that's hardcore, And I was like, I'd do it too. I'd be like, fuck this guy, soul motherfucker tried to rape my daughter, So that was really cool. And then the main native dude, the chief or whatever his name is, he finds out what happened. And at first he's pissed off because he's like, why are these native people dead or they're killed by the Duttons, I gotta go and hunt these motherfuckers down. Maybe I finally got something on these Duttons. And then he finds out he actually did them a favor and killed a bunch of rapists.
Yes, I thought that was awesome too.
And it was so funny. He's like, well, that story checks out. Like, I really like that episode because I was like, well, at least he's fine with him killing a bunch of rapists. That was funny. Let's see. Wolfsbane for $5 says, not on subject, but I forgot to ask this during the stream with Cara Lynn. What are y'all's favorite Harry Potter films? Mine is Chamber, followed by Goblet. Mine's Prisoner of Azkaban. What about you guys?
Yeah, I'd agree with Prisoner of Azkaban. I think that's the perfect one.
Script Doctor?
I think I've only seen the first one, so.
Oh my God. You need to watch the other ones. They're so good.
Do I?
Yeah, you do. I hope your girlfriend makes you. Jane, what about you?
What I think, I try to remember which one it was. It was the one where the kids came from the other school.
That's Goblet of Fire.
Yes, that one.
Oh, okay.
That's my favorite.
There you go. Totally off topic, but that's fine. We love you, Wolfsbane. Thank you for the $5. Okay. Wait, what else did I want to talk about? I would say predictions for next season, but it's already up.
Be cheating.
Yeah, that would be cheating. Also, I know what happens in season or episode 1 and 2. Wait. What happened at the end of this? Okay, yeah. So they tried to. Oh God, that was another time. This dude. Wait, what was up with those lesbians again? I forgot about the lesbians.
Wait, there were lesbians? Did I miss them?
Yeah, there was a bunch of lesbians in there. I was like, they're random, but okay.
Oh.
I'm trying to remember that, but I don't.
There were the ones that were floating on the river.
Oh, right. The journalist and the other lesbian. Yeah, that's a red herring.
Yeah, so I was like, what? What's up with these lesbians? Okay, that was random.
That thing will be forgotten. Well, quote unquote resolved, but forgotten next season.
Oh yeah, it's already forgotten. I've already forgot about this. I will say I really like this other dude. I really like the old native dude. I think it's her dad.
The grandfather. It's a great grandfather, I think.
Great grandfather. I really like him. I think he's a great actor. And he has a lot of great lines, as you would think an old native man would. I really like his lines and the things he says. Especially in the second season, which, spoiler alert, I'm not going to say what it is. But in the second season, he literally says exactly what I said about that girl. And I was like, thank you, Taylor Sheridan. You fucking at least address the fact that she's just retarded. Let me just break up my nuclear family for absolutely no reason because I have a freaking brain injury. Oops.
Oh.
Yep, there she is.
Sorry, Jane. That was me.
The AI took over.
No, that was me. I accidentally pressed the wrong button because I have 2 screens.
No worries.
And okay, let's see what happens on the last episode. I'm just going through really quickly. Okay, yeah, they figure out they solve the bear killing, and then they find out that the sheriff is hiding the bullet or whatever. That was wild. That's kind of like when you start really looking into how corrupt everything is in this series. It's not just the Duttons that are corrupt. It's everybody's fucking corrupt.
Well, the Duttons are corrupting, and then there's someone else corrupting the others, and it's a fight over who can do the most corrupting for their own gain. And the only one that's not really being very corruptive is Casey, because he's just on the receiving end of it and being moved around all over the place.
Right. He's just being taken for a ride, and I can't deal with the daughter. I just can't even put my finger on what kind of character she is going to be. I'm just okay, are you a good character or a bad character? I can't tell anymore.
Well, we find out her entire reason behind Jamie in season 3, and that should have been discovered in the end of season 1.
Oh, okay. So we have a lot left.
Because for the first 2 seasons, you have no reason why she hates Jamie as feverishly as she does. Like, you can understand why siblings don't like each other, but hers is so deep down, like, she regards him as evil, and she will do anything as evil as she can to him for whatever reason, and we don't know why. And it's really, when they come up with the answer, you get it, but at the same time, it's like I wouldn't know a single character in my life that wouldn't bring that up every opportunity they could. And she keeps it close to the chest for 2 seasons. And it's like, I don't believe that for a second.
Oh, God. I hope it's not going to be like grape related or something, like incest shit.
No,
please don't tell me it goes incest.
Oh, okay, good. Because that was my first thought too, Lena. I was like, please.
No. Like, are they really
please
going
no flowers in the attic?
Shit. Yeah, fuck. Oh, my God.
Well, if you can tell from the casting, even if Jamie and Beth did sleep together, it wouldn't be incest.
Mama was stepping out.
Oh, no.
Nope.
Well,
so that's why I hate him so much.
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Redhead.
Okay. All right.
No. Oh, frack. I don't know. I'll wait till I see it.
No, you're going to have to wait till the 3rd season.
Oh.
Wow. I can't believe it's not even going to be explained in
the
the second one. Man, I have to wait. Oh, man. That's a long time.
It goes. I like how they build up to it, though.
Have you seen all of it, Jane? Like up to season 5?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But we still don't have an ending. God damn it. Oh, there was another thing where I like, again, because I really like I was gonna say Jamie, but it's not Jamie. Jimmy. I like Jimmy. And then all of a sudden he like fell off his horse again. And I was like, don't tell me they're gonna freaking kill Jimmy. Like
well, and I love the way they gave him such a hard time. It's like, you put the hat on the bed.
Yeah. Oh, the hat on the bed thing was really good. I really like that whole thing.
Superstition. So, yeah, if you look at IMDb, Jamie, he's part of the 4 Sixes show that's going to be coming out next year, I think. So you don't have to worry about him.
Okay.
Actually, you kind of do to other points for other things, but yeah.
Oh, that's right. The lesbians. I just remembered now. The lesbians was the reporter that had taken over the not John Dutton, the Jamie Dutton campaign. She was like working undercover so that she can what's it called? Expose the Duttons. And then she figures out that Jamie is kind of like turning against the dad. So she's like, you're going to need me if you really want to fucking, take your dad out, because he wants to take you out. Like he's got a new candidate and all this stuff. And really just kind of like greasing the wheels of trying to turn this boy against his father. There was a hardcore stripper scene, which was great because you don't usually see nudity anymore in film. And I thought it was really like, in a way, I'm kind of really glad I know this is going to sound really fucking weird, but I'm really glad they put in the nudity in this, because usually these kind of shows have like really hardcore glorified violence, which I thought this show did. And then they have no nudity. So it's like, oh, God forbid we show fucking nipple, but we're going to show so much insane violence. But this one was pretty evenly thought out, I thought. So I have no problem with the nudity. But then during that, they also introduced another character. I was like, what? This is this is the last fucking episode. Like, why are we...
Yeah, the cowgirl just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, it just comes out of nowhere. And she's like a stripper cowboy. And he's like, yeah, you want to work on the farm? And I was like, what, are they going to brand her too? Like, this is so crazy.
They don't brand all the farmhands.
No, they don't. Only the criminals.
Only the criminals to compel loyalty, and only the ones that are most loyal to the Dutton Ranch.
What if she gets arrested, though? Would they then fucking brand her because she's been arrested? Like,
no, your arrest is fine. It's if you served time or committed a crime that you would go to away for a long time. Like Rip, we learn is he doesn't have technically a public identity because he was brought in there as a kid. He has no actual education other than what he learned on the ranch and learning about people. and he doesn't even have a driver's license. He has no real ID or anything. So he's if he dies, no one will know it other than the people that he knew on the ranch, and the government knows nothing about him. So he doesn't pay taxes. So he's got that going for him.
Yeah. Well, in this scene, it was weird though, because he was like, I know you can ride. And she's like, yeah, I can ride. I can like, ride faster than any one of your farm hands and like blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, okay, like, are we just going to hear about this? Let's see it. Like, let's see this stripper take on the farm hands. Like, I want to see that. And then we don't see anything like that. And I'm like, okay, why are we being told the stripper is like, the bestest ever? And then you don't see her on a horse or nothing. Like, I'm like, what?
Because that's what, okay, so actors like monologues, and especially monologues that give them a power as close to God as possible. And that's what a lot of this show has. They have those monologues where they know what's going on in that scene, and the person that they're talking to doesn't know what's going on. They're able to pass on wisdom or guidance or confidence or something of that nature. And it's exchanging of this behavior, this status among the scenes. And that's what really drives it. Now, it comes from some really great performances and even sometimes some catchy lines. But overall, when it comes to like depth of story, it's really superficial, but it's fun.
It's true. It is fun, especially when you have a stripper involved, because you can get a lot of good scenes from a stripper. Actually, they already got a really good scene from her. It's the first time she shows up, and all the dudes are like, "Oh my God, there's a girl, there's a hen in the house," like and then they're like, "Oh my God," and she's just like, "Okay, take a good fucking look, you guys." Like, who fucking cares? Like,
she's probably performed for all of them anyway, so.
Oh my God, this was hilarious. Jane, did you like the stripper, the native stripper?
Not exactly.
No.
No.
She didn't. She didn't titillate you.
Well, Dina, is this a
God damn it.
20 questions?
and then hot cowboy dude gets it on with Beth Dutton, and we're like, oh, okay. I knew that was gonna happen. I thought that like when they started doing it, I was like, oh, Rip's gonna kill that dude. He's dead. But we'll see what happens. He's still alive.
Yellowstone.
Hey, that is a good name for it. Bush McFadden's comment.
Yellowstone.
Yellowstone, yeah.
Darn right.
Oh God. Yeah, and then the chick ends up being like, I'm divorcing. Oh no, wait, she's also like, what's it called? Hanging out in her great granddad's house or whatever. Oh yeah, and then they lynch the dude. Which you find out later that they didn't actually lynch the dude.
He survives.
Like, yeah, he survives. I was like, what? Because I thought he was dead, but apparently
why do they keep letting people like? I think I keep getting the shows confused, but I think there was another episode or a different show. One of the prequels.
1923.
Yeah, 1923. Where if you're gonna kill somebody,
you kill them.
Make sure they're dead.
Yeah, man.
Don't Obi-Wan the situation.
Yeah, this is what
yeah.
kind of freaks me out a lot of times, and I learned this when I first came out to LA because I worked with a writer that was very, very disturbed. But he says if you're ever going to arrange a hanging of somebody and you're going to tie their wrists, you tie it to a belt loop or their belt so that they can't move or do anything. So if they could get close to like a knife or something, they can't free themselves.
Whoa.
Yeah. It was like, dang, that's dark.
Like, how do
he's
you
like,
figure
yeah,
that
but
out?
you want to make sure the job's done.
That is dark.
The other part he also says is, and when you do that in your stories, and if it's your main character, now you have to come up with a very creative and believable way for him to get out of it. And it's like, oh, son of a gun. Now I understand why. It's like you want to make it as difficult as possible to the point where it's like, okay, the only way they can get out of it is either they have a very strong neck or another person finds them in the nick of time to rescue them beforehand. And yeah, I mean, that's the other part where I'm watching this and I'm looking at it. I'm like, okay, 1923, I can understand because they're urgent. But like the Dutton family, 100 years, 100 years later, it's like they haven't ever encountered someone that escaped from a hanging, and it's like maybe we should take some extra precautions to ensure that we get this done.
Yeah.
You would think that, like, you would think they'd be experts at hanging people now, but I guess that's not true. But I figured that, like, because in the scene before that happened, Buddy, I think it was Rip, kind of gave this look like he couldn't believe that Casey was gonna actually kill the dude and like walk away from that. So he just kind of looked like he was kind of shocked. And I think Rip chose to not kill that guy. I think that's what happened. And I think that this was the scene because he just kind of like really looks at Casey walking away. And I think he cut him down. Like he decided like we don't need another murder on our hands right now. So let's cut this dude the fuck down. Which I don't see why, because Rip also is a killer. So I'm not really sure why he would have that compassion moment. It didn't really go.
They're trying to make him a bit more complex and human, as opposed to a guy like who's reluctant to kill, but will do it to get the job done. And in this situation, it's like, well, if you kill him now, then that entire storyline is resolved because the land is going to go to Tom Rainwater and his family are going to get whatever they inherit. And that'll be the end of that threat to the Dutton Ranch. It'll be then back to John Dutton and Tom Rainwater.
Right.
I don't think you should do anything to scare somebody when it comes to like trying to kill them or
right.
The warning shot is like you kill them or you don't.
Agree.
That intermediate line could create a worse enemy.
100%, Jane.
Yeah, because they'll be more
cautious
the next time and more vicious as well.
Yeah, and that's why we talked about in like, in every Western movie too, like if your kid sees you killing someone or like if the kid of someone sees you killing them, kill the kid.
Oh,
you know they're
gonna
their
relative or something.
Yeah, like you know they're gonna grow up and
what's
come
that
after
movie
you.
where she's wearing yellow?
She wore yellow rose
with the sword.
Oh,
Kill Bill.
Kill Bill.
Right. Right.
Oh god.
Well, no, it just happened in the other Western movie we watched too. Freaking the one with Nick Cage.
Yeah. Well, that was a thing in The Godfather too. That was why Vito had to go, because they didn't want him to grow up and try and get revenge.
There you go. See, the mob knows what's up.
Yeah.
And they thought they killed her but she survived in the hospital, and then they changed their mind.
But I thought they had a thing against killing families.
What, the mob?
The mafia.
They can. It depends if it's part of their family or not.
I think. I guess what
this was Sicily. They were hardcore there.
What I was thinking was that like if you have, because in that situation you have mob families, right? So there's always going to be a rivalry, and there's no need to kill the kids because they already know who their enemy is. It's sort of set in stone. The kids are going to grow up. They're going to take over the mantle, and they're going to be at war. Yeah,
but if they're like the rival family's kid, you should kill because they're always going to come after you. It happened in freaking what's it called? What's that other show? Peaky Blinders. That it also happened in that. It's all bad because they always. yes, I do.
Yikes!
They're always just gonna come back at you. Now I wonder if this chick is gonna come back at you at some point. I don't know. I can't put my finger on this situation because this was actually
You should do like Game of Thrones and take out the entire family line then.
I would. I would, Jane. Just to be safe. Look, this was basically almost the final scene because the final scene is just him walking away. But the final scene where them talking, where she's just like, I'm doing this for you and all this stuff. All of his kids make all these sacrifices for him. And, he thinks he's dying at the end of this. And then he just like, he walks off into the sunset and the season's over. And I was just kind of like, well, I mean, the daughter loves him. Like it's such a weird type of love. Like, because that It's an abusive family. You know they're fucked up, but they love each other. It's a really fucked up story.
I don't see the abuse though.
God damn it!
I see a father trying to make his family strong, and they're just weak. It's like they're Gen Z, but of that time period.
Well, they're technically Gen X because they're all Gen X actors,
Well, maybe
except for
that's the
Casey.
problem.
Casey's traditionally he's like Gen Y, but they call him millennials, which is stupid. But yeah, they
Well, they're the generation that's gonna lose everything.
They are. I mean, that's John Dutton the third, so he's technically the third generation after 1923, and then that goes into the typical aspect is where the third generation kind of squanders or fails to grow further. But yeah, like again, the thing that I brought up earlier about how John Dutton is a cattle rancher, and even though he's able to protect his land, he doesn't actually get the best value for his cattle when he sells them. That gets addressed in season 5 finally, and it's like, yeah, he literally could be making enough money where he could buy more land around him and make it harder for people to try and steal his land, but he's just not doing it.
Dude, he could just be selling like major cow semen or like bull semen or whatever. That shit's so expensive.
He doesn't have the other part too is he doesn't have a ranch a veterinarian to help him with mating his bulls with his heifers.
You would need that. Like you have to get that. That's where the big money is.
He does it kind of naturally. He has them all mingle. We get to see that.
He seems like a preservationist almost.
A little bit.
I remember that scene because there was one scene where like the bulls all like get into the cows thing, and they were like the other guy Jimmy was supposed to be watching them. And they're like, Jimmy, God damn it, the bulls are in the thing. I was like, you need to stop them because they want to mate. And he's just like, they're all waiting to like basically get it on. So Jimmy had to like stop them.
Well, yeah, really they do something kind of weird. I guess this must be like a Midwestern thing, is that they have huge gaps between the mating cycles for the bulls and the heifers. Which I guess is to accommodate the grass that they have and how much they can graze and what they do. But I thought that was kind of weird because usually I know some cattle farmers, they mate pretty frequently, and then the stuff that they can't graze themselves, they sell to other farms for a profit so that they can keep going.
I'm telling you, man, the bull semen is like a big deal. Like, I don't know why he's not just dealing in semen.
What do they do with it?
They freeze it and then they ship it off to, say, one of those exotic crazy countries that think that there's some sort of aphrodisiac to it. And
what?
Well, no, and they do it for like other like if other farmers don't have that commodity, like they'll get it so that they can produce more cows and blah blah blah. Like it's a big deal. Like it's like a big industry to get bull semen. I know this from of all places, fucking Trailer Park Boys, because it was like a whole episode about how they stole a batch of bull semen because it was like so much
sell
money
it on the black market.
They came after them because of the bull semen, and they were like, oh, the episode was so fucking gross, but it was so funny. Like I was like, I can't believe I just learned about bull semen.
Yeah, same thing with horses. There's so the character of Travis, who he's kind of like teases Jimmy whenever they swing by. That's played by Taylor Sheridan, the writer of the show. And
what? Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, because Taylor is a character actor who never got a leading man role, and been acting for about 25, almost 30 years, and one of the reasons why he's very good at these types of shows is because he's writing from an actor's perspective. It's like, okay, if he's sitting down at the typewriter or computer, he's like, okay, if I'm Jimmy, what do I want to do as Jimmy? And then he writes that way. And then he goes to the next character. I'm John. I want to write that way. So he's writing them all as if he's the actor playing them. And he's giving them all a lot of great stuff and a lot of great drama. And that's why the show's so appealing, because no character feels like they're a one-off, really. No character feels like they're only there for exposition. There's something else.
Which one is he again?
He's Travis. So I think in the first season, he's got the gray T-shirt. He looks a little older. He's one of the cowboys like that sells horses and deals with horses.
Okay, I'm trying to find like a group picture of them so that I can.
It's the first season where they do the one where the horses run and then they do the braking and they see how much of the slide they get. He's the one that has the longest slide.
Is that the one from Texas?
Yeah, he's the one that it goes out to Texas and he goes on the road a lot.
Yeah, I remember him.
Oh, I'm trying to find a picture.
His character's really cool.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
let me
mean,
see
of
what
course,
this
it's written
dude
by the
looks like.
showrunner.
That's funny. Hold on, I'm trying to see what it looks like. Oh, this dude. Oh, I didn't realize. That's hilarious. I didn't realize that was him. That's crazy. Okay, all right. Now I know. Good to know. Wait, let me see. There was something else I wanted to talk about.
Apparently, that sliding isn't very good for horses.
No, it's not.
Oh.
When I read about it, I was like, "Oh, that's so terrible. Why do they do it?"
What does
you could
that
risk
mean?
breaking a horse's leg, and depending on where you live, you either put a really expensive and elaborate cast on the horse's leg that allows him to still move, or you kill the horse, and that's both are bad.
Oh.
Because it takes a long
like
time
sliding is when they were doing that, like when they kind of slid on the horse. Is that what you guys are talking about?
Where the horse, sliding like, across the dirt, kind of like
yeah, I was wondering about that. I didn't.
And it stops abruptly.
Yeah, I was wondering about that because I was like, that doesn't look right. Like,
it
I don't know
doesn't
why
look natural.
No, it doesn't. It's like when skaters or like hockey skaters or whatever come and they do that slide, like when they stop.
Yep.
I was like, why is a horse doing that though? That doesn't make any sense.
Poor babies.
I know, dude. There's so much horse murder and horse abuse in this. I was like, what the fuck? Okay, hold on. There was something else that I just saw that I was like, wait, this happened in this episode. Does what's his name? The guy that kills everybody.
Casey?
Not Casey, the other guy. The one that killed his dad. Yeah, Rip.
Yeah.
Casey is ruthless. I like him.
Yeah, man. I mean, well, he becomes more and more ruthless as the time goes on.
Yeah.
Well, and I'll say it's almost like he's bitter because like his wife's like, I'm leaving you. And so because you're like your dad and like your whole family's fucked. And he's like
near like his dad. He is the exact.
Yeah, but then he goes
like his dad though. I feel like he is.
But then he goes, I'm gonna go and turn exactly into my dad and kill everybody that fucks me over. And you know what? Fuck everybody. And I was just like,
he has that. He has that Dutton spirit.
He does. He does. He really, really does. You can tell. You can tell because it's like he was trying to snuff it and he was snuffing it with the wife. Like, you could tell that he's trying to like kill that part of himself. And the wife and the son were helping him do that. But then he ends up losing that battle because the wife left him. And I was like, what the fuck? That's why he went and lynched that guy the first thing he got, like the first chance he got. He was like, I'm lynching the son of a bitch.
I don't know why the wife is upset.
From his perspective, all the hectic craziness that's going around there is what he figured.
But this is her son's legacy.
Exactly, Jane. The whole time I'm like, why are you doing this? Like, why are you freaking splitting up the nuclear family for this bullshit? You're gonna own this land. Your people are gonna own this land when like this dude dies.
She could end the war tomorrow by telling her tribe, we're going to get the land back.
Right. Like, just give me a few fucking years until my son grows up.
Yeah, I seduced the youngest son, had his baby. It's ours now.
Yeah.
All the long.
And then and I'm gonna make my son marry a native so that it's gonna be in the fucking native family. So just shut the fuck
let
up.
me defend her. Let me defend her slightly. I think she really believes that her son will be corrupted, like that he will turn into one of John Dutton's men.
Maybe, but they'll have the land.
Maybe, but here's the thing that's kind of interesting.
Exactly, Jane.
John Dutton is giving Tate more attention and better advice than he's given his kids. So Tate actually has a better chance of being a real Dutton, like say the great grandfather.
Yeah.
Than what he's got now, because first I don't know what it is. I guess because John was actually paying attention to all the mistakes he made with his kids. He's trying to get ahead of that with Tate, and he's having fun with him and whatnot. So it's
Another thing too along those lines is I think it's a thing that grandparents tend to do better with their grandchildren than they did with their children. So maybe that's part of it as well. And I think you're right. I think he's going to help prepare this child to be a good leader, a good protector of this property. And on his mom's side, like you said before, he's going to inherit it for their people as well. He'll probably marry a native woman, and that's it. You're done. Combine your land with your tribal land.
Oh, Jane, correction. Not probably gonna marry a native woman. Will marry a native woman if I'm the mom and I've got anything to say about it, because that's the fucking deal. Like, you know, I'd be like, you know what, like that's it. That's what's happening. You're gonna be marrying off to some freaking native dude or whatever, native girl, and that's it.
And to your point, Jane, with grandparents, from the ones that I know, because I did not grow up with grandparents. They look at grandkids as like, oh, this is kind of round 2 of child rearing. And so what do we learn from the first round with all of our other kids? Oh, okay. And now we're
yes.
And even though they tell their kids that information, the kids don't get it, so they just go straight to the grandkids and start telling them that.
It's all so funny. This scene was also funny too. This was one of the last scenes where he like comes to live with the hands because now he's been kicked out of his house and whatever, which is also stupid. And he puts his hat on the bed and everyone's like, oh my God. And he's like, I don't believe in that shit.
And that's why he kills everybody.
Funny. Yeah, it's just like, I don't believe in luck. I will fuck you over. I did notice some longing glances from the stripper girl. So I was like, oh, so now he's single. And now the stripper girl is giving him this like googly eyes across the table. What's that about? Because I figure it's like a red herring. Like, I don't know, because like I haven't seen the full second season, but it felt a little like, oh, you know, is he gonna get with this girl now because, you know, he's not with his wife anymore and she's native too and she's kind of pretty.
Well, he's not technically single.
No, they're separated, but you know,
they're not divorced yet.
A lot of separated couples use that as an excuse.
Yeah, I was gonna say that is.
She gave him those googly eyes, man. I was like, that's a dangerous. That was a dangerous look from a stripper. Let's just say that.
Yeah. Well, one thing that's kind of interesting about Yellowstone 1923. And shows that do have a conservative lean to it. And if there's other shows that go against this, please point it out in the show in the chat, because I definitely want to pick them out. But Tim Allen did a conservative show called Last Man Standing, and then you also have the Dutton family in this. And what's interesting is that there's a running theme between those two shows, and I say them because they're kind of like the most prominent right now. Is that the father does everything for the kids, and the kids don't really earn anything. Like nobody in the Dutton family is going to earn the Dutton Ranch. Jamie didn't really earn his admission to Harvard. His dad did something and got him in there, and most likely the same thing with Beth. Yeah. And in the Tim Allen show, like Tim Allen is like vice president of a chain of outdoor man stores, and he gives his daughter a job, and then he gives his other daughter a job, and then he tries to give his youngest daughter a job, but she ends up going away to school. So, you know, when she comes back from school, he's going to give her a job. But they end the series before she returns back from school. So, and then he gives his son-in-law a job. And then, like, there's no one in the family is actually doing something on their own independently to earn their own wealth and stuff. It's all kind of like given because the guy at the top who did earn it is just handing it over to his kids. And it's like, that's not a good message to convey. And I think you can see why you have the abuse in the Dutton Ranch in Yellowstone, because John has not actually put his kids in situations where they actually have to earn the status and responsibilities required to run this ranch.
I think it's also, I agree with you. I think that's a real problem with some kids today, because their parents have done so much. And what we're finding is kids of this generation are starting to lose a lot of what their parents have provided for them, or they're doing worse than generations before. But I think part of that has to do with, look at the royal families of the world. Geez. Like, one of the things they do to try to temper that, I think, is having their kids involved in a lot of community service work and giving back and things like that from a very young age. And it seems like these families today, particularly in the West, just don't do that. They don't put their kids in position to see how other people have it worse or have them serve people who are suffering or underprivileged or whatever. So they grow up with this entitled attitude, and the only thing they can see is what they have, and they think that they should have it by virtue of their birth. And they just don't appreciate it as much.
And they don't understand the value of it, because it's almost like they're kind of grown up in their own bubble. And everybody's grown up in a bubble in some regards, but it seems like in those types of situations, the bubble is very, very small. And it's up to the person that owns the bubble to basically like say, no, you're going to go out and away for a little bit and interact with people that are not part of this sphere, so that you can actually pick something up and bring something back here inside the bubble to just keep it fresh, so to speak. And it's the same type of thing with cycling in industry. There's a reason why you need other generations to come in and either reinforce or expand the industries with new ideas, because if you keep it all internal, you're going to get what's called arrested development, and then depreciation, and then you're going to vanish and be replaced by someone else that's more innovative and more attuned with what's going on with the customers and what they want.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, we've talked about the season for about 2 hours now, and
Wow.
I think we've said all that needs to be said. Unless anyone has any additional thoughts, do you guys want to say anything else about the season?
Are you going to watch the season 2 to the completion, Nina?
Of course. I'm probably going to watch the whole thing.
You should.
I mean, I'm invested at this point.
for Jimmy's arc alone, it's worth it. I'd say that.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I love Jimmy. So okay, great. I'm really not feeling the native girl so far. I'm not the stripper, the other one.
The wife, Monica, right?
Yeah, the wife.
I don't think you will ever.
Really?
I don't think you're gonna ever. In fact, you may hate her more.
She is a red herring character.
I can tell you this: I hate her even more watching the first couple of episodes of season 2, because she turned into a fucking SJW, and I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me right now?" Like,
oh no, the stuff that she spouts in season 2 is pure conjecture. Like she can't provide any evidence to verify that stuff. But at the same time, you also can't provide much evidence to verify the contrary, because again, the accounts are kind of not as specific as you'd expect them to be.
But and then she just turns into an SJW that's like, I'm leaving my husband and blah blah blah, and I was just like, okay, like, so she's just gone off the freaking deep end. But okay, yeah, I'm definitely gonna watch. I'm definitely gonna watch season 2. We're definitely gonna talk about the rest of the series. I'm very very much actually looking more forward to the prequels now, though. Like I really want to see the 1923, I guess that's
so 1923 is currently airing. 1823 was the single season, and it wasn't my favorite.
I loved it.
1623?
1883.
Oh, 1883.
83. I was gonna say that'd be very interesting. 16.
You find out that
they should.
It's really good, but you find out that the Duttons didn't steal the land they're on.
Okay.
Oh, you spoiled it.
No. There's a big, but the thing is, there's another thing that happens as a result of that plays into what's happening in now, and I'm not going to spoil that.
Okay, so 1883. Which one is it? Which one's first? 1883 then, or
1883, and then 1923, and I think that's got this season. I think they got renewed for another season. So there might be another.
Oh, okay.
I think they should go backwards and forwards and just keep going.
Yeah.
Because like apparently their family's from Scotland, I think.
They started from Scotland, then went to Ireland, and then came to America.
Oh my gosh, if they would be Jacobins.
Ooh.
Singing a song of the lad that was gone. The king over the sea.
I don't know what the hell Teresa's talking about, but okay.
Never mind.
You'll find out when another outlander. It would be freaking awesome.
I'm more excited about watching 1883 and the other one because, well, actually, I'm more excited about watching the other one because it's got Harrison Ford in it. So
Helen Mirren,
like that's an amazing cast. So like I'm kind of like, do I really want to keep going with Yellowstone right now, or do I want to go back?
1883 and 1923 has one thing that you really shouldn't be doing in a television show when you're especially an ongoing series, and that is having a voiceover narration. Because you are relying on the narration to make up for what you can't or don't want to say in the show. And it's not the same as, like, say, the captain's log in like a Star Trek. The captain's log in a Star Trek is to establish a passage of time, and a certain aspect of things that are boring are being told here so that we can get to the next part. It's done quickly. But with 1883 and 1923, you get some significant voiceover narration.
You do.
I haven't seen Outlander, so I guess other people got
Put it on
your reference.
list. Put it on your list.
Yeah.
I heard it ended really badly, Jane.
Is that
I was
with
like,
the hole in the middle of nowhere?
I don't like
No.
the ending, but the
No.
first season or two.
Yeah, it's superb. Well, they haven't ended it yet. It's going to go on forever, but
oh god,
I also have a bit of a connection to all of those too.
that's what it is. That's why I haven't
Jacobins
watched
and
it.
the Irish and Cork and
Okay.
they just blew up Cork because Cork helped out.
But that's why I haven't watched it, because there's no ending, and then I heard
I didn't really
bad.
like when they came to America, it kind of fell off for me.
Yeah, it started to suck.
Yeah.
Okay, but I've heard that about Outlander from a lot of people, though, that the first couple of seasons are like fucking good, like really, really good.
Amazing.
Okay, I'll watch it at some point. I have other things to watch, Jane. God damn it!
I know.
So
All
much
we're gonna
stuff.
do is watch things.
I know. Now we gotta finish Yellowstone, then the prequels, and then I actually want to go over something with you guys in the back before we say goodbye. So we're gonna end that here now. This is the show. So we will be back with more Yellowstone reviews and the prequels and all the reviews. We'll be here. We'll be back. Teresa, if you have anything coming up, you want to plug your channel, please go for it.
For sure. I have my usual Wednesday stream, video, which is usually a letter of J.R.R. Tolkien with a topical thing, because of Rings of Power. People like to cherry pick so much and pretend Tolkien did or didn't say something. I've got some live streams with serial killers, a trip to another Ireland video is going to be upcoming, and so is with my Sword of Shannara book stream, and I'm getting toward that push to 1,000. So hope to get there.
Everybody, please subscribe to Teresa. The link is in the description down below. Let's get her to 1K.
Thank you.
And yes, thank you, Jane, for saying this. And I saw you going at it in the chat. I couldn't keep up, but I'm gonna have to go back and watch the replay just to see what the hell happened in the chat. Jane, tell everyone what is going on with you and where they can find you.
You can find me on YouTube. I post movie and TV reviews and occasionally some pop culture commentary. You can also find me on Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram at Jane Theory.
Yay, the links are in the description. Script Doctor, please let everyone know what's going on with you, where they can find you.
Oh, you can find me on Twitter at ScriptDoctorPhD. I do have a YouTube channel. In fact, I took a respite and played some Valheim earlier today, so you can go check the replay on that. I also am doing a little mini series on my Patreon because I got unproduced screenplays from Dan Aykroyd for the third Ghostbusters film.
Oh wow!
So I've already reviewed his treatment that he submitted in February in 1996, I believe it was. It was the same year that Chris Farley passed away, and the treatment features Chris Farley as one of the characters.
Oh.
So I reviewed that, and then I've got the 2 subsequent drafts he wrote the following years. So Chris Farley's not involved in those, obviously for reasons, but I'll be dropping those on my Patreon later this week. So if you're a Ghostbuster fan,
wow,
you get some stuff that hasn't really been. There's been lots of stuff online written about it, but as far as I know, no one, unless you were really close to those projects at the time, have ever seen these scripts. So I've got them, and I'm sharing all the details with you guys. If you sign up at my Patreon.
Wow, that's so cool, Script Doctor. I'm sure Tom is like really into that,
foaming at the mouth somewhere. Yeah,
you said like if you're a Ghostbusters fan, I don't know why I just pictured Tom being like, oh my fucking god. So I'll be sure. I'm sure you've told him about it, but be sure to mention that.
You've got some inkling of it, yeah.
Okay, good. As for me, you can check out the new video that I dropped today and about AI taking over. Damn you, Jane. I will be back with more Hogwarts Legacy and stuff like that. Of course, you can find me on Talks with Them Monday night, and I'll be back with lots more content. And until next time, you guys have a good one. Take care.
Goodbye.
Bye. See you next time. Naked Tom Hiddleston. Bye.
Thank you.
I'm so sorry.
I'll survive.
I don't doubt it. You're an excellent specimen. I thought you were empty.
I just moved in.
I'm Charlotte Melville.
Hi. Sorry, I must have fallen asleep.